What is happening now with news and brands returning? Of course, you work with a number of publishers. They're sort of looking for that to come back um, around quality news sites. What's happening, and has there been much development in terms of the buy side's interest, appetite, activation around news?
Look, I'm really pleased to see that brands are starting to come back into quality news media since what we saw as a low point around the beginning of COVID in late March and April. My feeling is it's critical for advertisers to fund professional journalism right now and going forward. And here's why. Look, first and foremost, I think we can all agree that marketers have a fiduciary responsibility to their brands to invest their advertising dollars in media environments that have a high potential to perform. And hands down, news media performs. Let me share some statistics on news that I think are very telling. First off, professional news reaches 95% of American families and 100% of this coveted 25 to 50-year-old demographic. News indexes highest against what we call super influencers. These are high income, highly educated audiences that represent about 2.5 trillion, that's trillion with a T, dollars in buying power. Engagement with digital news has nearly doubled in the last 3 years, and time spent is up 93% in that same period of time. All of those stats come together to reinforce just how strong news performs. But it's not just because I'm saying it. A couple of years ago, Comscore studied the effect of advertising in professional trusted content environments. And they found that when you advertise in these environments, your ads perform 300% better than in the open web. And particularly as it relates to these mid-funnel metrics that push consumers from brand loyalty to brand influence and ultimately to purchase. So to start out with, I hope that marketers would want to be in news environments simply because they really perform. But if that's not enough motivation, let's really look at what's happening now in professional news. I would argue we are in a moment in which there is an existential crisis to the future of trusted professional news. Let me share some more statistics that are actually a little scary. In the last decade, US newsroom employment is down 25% across the nation. And when you look specifically at local news, that stat is now 47%. Since 2004, 1,800 local news organizations shuttered completely. They're gone. They don't exist anymore. At the same time that this decline in the newsroom employment is happening, news media consumption is also changing, and we all know this. In 2018, Northeastern University published a study, and I'm going to share some stats here. 90% of the 6,500 or so college students they interviewed said they obtained their news media from social media platforms. The problem is almost half don't know how to tell the difference between real news and fake news, which is a huge problem in these social environments. The killer stat, though, that really bothers me, that really is concerning, is that of that group, 36%, just a little over a third, said that because they can't tell the difference, they now have grown to distrust all news. That shit is scary. We talked earlier about this threat to trust. Frankly, in the news environment, I think we are facing an existential crisis that I call truth decay. It's really serious, and it's not going to suddenly fix itself. So this is why I think that it's really time for advertisers and agencies to lean in and begin to more actively support news. And I think it's starting to happen. You've been hearing much more vocal support over the last 6 months for professional news environments. And we're actually starting to see the dollars come back in. It feels like there was this perfect storm in that March, April, and May timeframe when news organizations removed their paywalls, which of course reduced the likelihood of new subscribers to their news properties. And at exactly the same time, advertisers pulled away. So the news organizations were really facing, like I said, this perfect storm that was terrible. But coming the end of May, June, and now through the summer, we've seen much higher sell-through rates and even higher CPMs in news, which I think is really important and a really good sign. We're hearing directly from advertisers and agencies who want curated news deals across our portfolio of 7 news publishers. We have DSP partners, in particular MediaMath, who have created a curated responsible media marketplace that's kind of like the easy button for advertisers who want to immediately get access to professional brand safe news without all the outside noise. We're a part of that. Our publishers are a part of that. So I think that's really good news. And the brand safety vendors themselves have actually been investing in new technologies to better contextualize the news environment and to apply better sentiment analysis in order to differentiate between positive news, neutral news, and negative news. And all of these things come together to make it easier for advertisers to engage, to get the scale they want in news environments, and to do so without the risk to brand safety and suitability. So I think we're seeing some positive signs in the last 60 to 90 days. And I think the confluence of the crisis that we've seen has actually motivated that lean in and that lean into sustained news. So I'm pleased.